is going on, everyone? I figured I'd give a small update, like a mini vlog for the work I did today. I know it's been a bit since I've updated everyone on the car. Things are going forward and things are going backwards and you know, going everywhere. So figure here's a little quick 5-minute update on where we are with the car. A lot's changed up front since you last seen it. Added the front lip, front winkers, put the headlights on after we refinished them. The intercooler was refinished. There's just a ton on the front end of the car, which was really cool. The big elephant in the room is there's rust on the sills, inner sills and outer sills on both sides and in certain areas. It's not nearly as bad as some of the other 33s I've seen around, but it needs tending to. So right now, as I am trying to get quotes for doing, you know, welding work and sill repair and underbody stuff, I figured I would just work on the car from the front backwards, tackling everything that I saw along the way, basically. So as you see, we finished most of the front end. There's still little nagging issues. I'm missing some of the fasteners to hold the headlights in. Ended up scuffing up my refinished headlight today. I'm really pissed off about that, but we'll get that rectified. Everything in the front end, intercooler, bumper support, stock blow-off valve, all that's in place, kind of cleaned up as best I can. You know, everything looks really good. Also got the rims fully done, refinished, tires fitted, beautiful. Panasport G7 C5 C2s, 18 by 10.5 all around. I think it's plus 25, which is kind of pussy offsets, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll add a 5 mil spacer just to make it a little more presentable. But what they look like on the car, I just test fit the front, is something that's actually really usable, you know, with the 275/35. So maybe it'll actually be a fun car to drive rather than like super stanced out and difficult to deal with in certain areas. Let's see. So as far as moving into the engine bay, as you can see down here, I have the rocker covers off and the front cover, the RB26 cover. They're in shit condition, so it looks like someone who owned the car previously decided he wanted to polish them, but he polished them on the car. And the reason I could tell that is because of the black parts that were left inside of the spark plug valley and then underneath the igniter. You know, it's just a very half-assed job, very typical of England. But so I yanked those off. We're gonna sandblast them, and then I'm gonna spray paint them with a wrinkle black, very high temp spray paint. I've seen a bunch of videos online of how to do that, and it looks like it comes out great. So I'm just gonna wing it, see how it goes, follow the directions, and hopefully it turns out really nicely. I haven't decided if I'm going to replace this, the emblem, the center emblem. They are pretty expensive. They're over $100, but they are available, and I can go all the way up to the R34, like the V-spec ones. So I can kind of update the engine look or keep it, you know, period correct. So along with that, have all of the hot side of the intercooler piping off. I've cleaned every single piece in and out. I might respray, that's the diverter valve split pipe. I might respray that with the Nissan Krillo black spray paint that I have, just to clean it up. But all this looks good, no cracks, any of that. What I did notice there were cracks on was basically every single vacuum line on both sides of this engine. On this side, every vac line was split in multiple places, so I ripped all those off. And then all the ones that are along the intake manifold as well were all split, which I was really pissed off about. But in the process of this, I actually found something quite interesting. So I saw this vac line that was connected to what looks like a pressure sensor, and it was mounted in a very unusual spot on top of the brake booster of sorts. I traced it to a T that came to the fuel pressure regulator, which is adjustable. It looks like a Nismo one. And I was like, that doesn't seem stock. What's going on here, guys? And a side note, cams look pretty good. Timing belt looks like it hasn't even been worn. It must have been changed at some point during this time the car has been sat. So that looks all right. At least for getting it started, I'm going to keep that on there. So yeah, I traced that in, and I was like, well, it's interesting. There's a harness going to it. I know I have my Apex boost controller, has its harness as well. So I decided I was like going to go look for the ECU. I wanted to see what ECU was in this car because things started looking funny. For instance, I have these spliced O2 sensors. Never seen that before, or I had no idea why they would be. And I went diving in the interior, and look what I found. Let's see if we can see this properly. Apex Power FC. Yep. It's L Jetro since I have MAP sensors, but that's cool. So I have a fully tunable ECU, which is going to be useful at some point, but that also does lead me to believe that this car was probably cranked out and was hooned quite possibly a lot in its lifetime. Turbo condition, not the greatest. I cleaned them both up, at least a little bit. I still have tons of cleaning to do in this area. So let's check back in a week once I get those rocker covers back on, because that's when I'm going to start really hitting all of this. This rear turbo, just because the gasket looks really fresh, looks like it was changed. I found a piece of turbine, I guess, it was what we think is a piece of a compressor wheel on the hot side of the intercooler when I had everything off and I was refinishing it. Something tells me that turbo blew at some point in the life of this car, spewed a little piece out. Owner figured out that it was blown, replaced said turbo, didn't actually bother to go look for any of the chunks that were missing. One of the chunks was in the intercooler. The intercooler is such a fine air passage, though. The ability for any of those pieces to actually make it all the way into the intake, I think, are very slim to none. It would be a freaking miracle. It's like a Finding Nemo story. So that's where we're leaving it right now. I need to cover up the cams so we don't get any dirt or dust on them. Everything looks okay. One of the cams in the back looks like it has a interesting wear, or it's kind of dry on the tip of it. I don't know when the oil was changed last in this engine, so it's it's anyone's guess, but it's up to me to kind of refresh it the way it should be, and then we'll see if there's actually any major problems to deal with. But the goal is next week, this time, so a week from today, Saturday, we're cranking this thing over, starting it, putting everything back together, and seeing what we got. So stay tuned, but that's where we're at. So we'll see you next week.